Hello, everyone, and welcome to Franz's Real Estate Facts, episode 9. We are almost in the double digits of episodes, which is so exciting. I am actually so excited. I've loved doing this. And, we've had really awesome and amazing guests. And today, my guest is Pamela Brown McGill. Attorney Pamela, as she prefers to be called, is a local attorney with her main office located in North County across the street from the Vista Courthouse, which is great because she's often in the Vista Courthouse. And she also has a satellite office in the Murphy Canyon area. Attorney Pamela is a really good friend of mine. I've known her for a really long time. And as a professional, she handles bankruptcy and estate planning matters. She is someone who can help with the best as well as the worst of times and also help prevent the best of times becoming the worst of times. In addition to running her own growing solo practice, which is really growing because I've known her for a long time. And I just remember the first time when she was like, I have a tiny office here and I have one client, and she was excited. And now I'm talking to her and she's like, I have so many clients in so many cases. I now need staff, right? Isn't that amazing? But in addition to doing that, she also runs a volunteer small claims clinic program at one of the downtown area law schools, which is actually how I met her. And she also volunteers with the Legal Aid Society of San Diego's free bankruptcy clinic, which is a really awesome organization. And, what we're going to be talking about today is actually homestead exemption. And because we're going to be talking about a legal thing, right, and like a real legal thing, we need to have a disclaimer here that I will include, which says that today's podcast is for informational purposes only and not intended to be legal advice. So if you think it's legal advice, it's not. And if you interpret it as legal advice, it's not. It's just legal information. It is here to help you know that the law exists and there are things in the law that may or may not be relevant to you. If you even think that you might possibly have a legal problem, you must immediately contact an attorney. It's kind of like if you think you're having a heart attack, you should go to the hospital. If you think you have a legal problem, you need to talk to an attorney. And, Pamela is a great attorney. You can reach out to her. Her phone number will be in the comments at the bottom, or you can also contact your local bar association for attorney referrals. There are many awesome attorneys who participate as part of the lawyer referral service as part of the San Diego County Bar Association, and there's other specialty bar associations in San Diego as well.
Yes.
So, Pamela, I will call you Pamela instead of attorney Pamela because I have known you for so long.
True.
But attorney Pamela, what can you tell us about the homestead exemption? First of all, what is the homestead exemption? I mean, I've heard of it, I know what it is, but what is it?
Okay. Well, I'm going to take us back just a little bit, but not too far back to where we're in the Stone Ages. Okay. So starting with the Homestead Act, which was actually enacted in 1862. And back in those days, what the act provided for was that anyone could lay claim for up to, imagine this, 160 acres of government land with the condition that the land was built upon. And so once you met that provision, then basically the property was deemed yours, thus it was homesteaded. Today, a homestead can apply to any type of home ownership, whether it's a home on 160 acres, when we love that, on a half an acre, a townhome, or even a condo. The only condition is that the home must be owned and used as your primary residence. And that's what takes us into the homestead exemption. So for our purposes here, I like to think of a homestead exemption as a tool which can possibly protect your home from a certain amount of, which can protect a certain amount of your home's equity from judgment creditors, among other things. And let's face it, to state the obvious, now that we're not quite out of, but we're barely coming out of this whole COVID-19 epidemic, what's going to end up happening, unfortunately, is a lot of people are going to find those bill collectors, right, knocking at the door. And the big question is, oh my gosh, am I going to lose my home? Am I going to lose my car, my stuff? What's going to happen here? So that's what's making the homestead exemption, I think, even more invaluable these days.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So essentially the Homestead Act is, a homestead is essentially a protection that says if you've got a bunch of equity in your home, your creditors need to basically forego a portion of that equity and the rest of before they can go after their debt. So basically, if there's a judgment and they, you file for bankruptcy or whatever, and they're going after your assets, a certain portion of the assets in your home are protected against creditors.
Exactly. And then just to expand on that just a little bit more, just like you said a minute ago, when we're thinking about the homestead or the homestead exemption, we are specifically looking at using it to protect us against judgments, and that's where your bill collectors are going to come into place, right? And then in the context of bankruptcy, to the extent that you might find that you have to file bankruptcy. And for those of you with homes that have a lot of equity in them right now, we'll get into a little bit more detail in a minute here, but you might be sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I have all this equity in my home, but yet I own all these bills. Maybe, I just got laid off my job. What do I do? Well, listen, bankruptcy is an option for you still, especially with all the new changes that have taken place in regards to our homestead exemption. And then, of course, like I said a minute ago, and like Frantz also illuminated, it does provide you protection against your judgment creditors outside of the bankruptcy context who happen to go to court, get a judgment against you, and then want to go down to the recorder's office and file a lien on your home. Okay, it's going to protect some of that equity there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also the other thing that the homestead exemption, as far as I understand, does is it discourages tiny, small creditors from forcing you to sell, from forcing a sale when you have to sell your house. So if you owe somebody $50, they take you to small claims court, they get a judgment against you for $50. Without the homestead exemption, they would actually be able to foreclose on your house for $50. They might not want to, but they could. So the homestead exemption actually prevents that from happening because it's just not worth their while. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, really brings us to our next question, which is, what exactly does the homestead exemption do? Like, are there different kinds of homestead exemptions? Does it do something different in different contexts? Yes. Why might somebody want to care about the homestead exemption? Why is this relevant if you are a homeowner?
Right. Okay. So great question, Frantz. And to kind of piggyback on what you're just saying a minute ago, we have two types of homestead exemptions. Okay. We have our automatic homestead exemption, and we have a declared homestead exemption. Declared, we're saying it to the world, we're doing something. Automatic, oh, we're not doing anything, it's there. In 1974, Congress realized that people were not declaring their homesteads, right? And therefore they were at risk, or they were finding themselves to be the victim of these foreclosure, proceedings. Well, with your automatic exemption, what ends up happening there is that it will apply to forced sales only. So it just automatically steps in, it automatically provides you a certain level of protection. No recording is necessary whatsoever, but the operative word here is it applies to forced sales only, involuntary sales, foreclosures. When you talk about the declared homestead, now that will apply to forced as well as as opposed to using the word forced, let's say involuntary versus voluntary sales. Okay, so you go to sell you have a declared homestead in place, and we'll talk about that a little bit towards the end here, but you have a declared homestead in place, meaning you've taken steps, then you can sell your home. Okay, and a certain amount of the equity is going to be protected, and you can even move it over to another property, and it continues to be protected. Okay, and again, that's where we have our declared homestead. It applies in both instances. With the homestead now being transferred to your new property will also receive that homestead protection and treatment. So you definitely want to go the route of filing the homestead. And then also, I like what you said earlier, because people don't necessarily understand what a homestead is, what it does. When you actually file something, when you actually get on record a declared homestead, that's great notice to the world that, hey, listen, there's going to be some loopholes you're going to have to jump through if you try to get my property.
Exactly. And, you know, creditors really don't like loopholes. They like to go after low-hanging fruit. I mean, you know, unfortunately, it really is the reality. Like, if creditors see that there's a bunch of loopholes, they really do want to make their lives easier. So if they see that there's going to be some difficulties on either foreclosing on your house or anything that's there, they might say, well, I'm going to go after somebody else, not this person, because this is really just going to be more money than it's worth. Or they might
Exactly.
even, the other thing is they might actually be even more willing to negotiate with you if you have a debt, because they say, well, I see this homestead exemption. I know you've got this homestead exemption. It's declared. And, you know, it's going to be harder. So let's come to the table. Let's figure something out that's going to work for both of us. So
Exactly, exactly. And you know what, Franz, if I can jump in here real quick, I wanted to clarify something too. It was a point that I was just thinking of too. Remember, guys, this applies to your primary residence. Okay,
great.
this is not going to extend to. Somebody asked me earlier, oh, what about my timeshare? Can I protect my timeshare? No, you can't protect your timeshare. But if this is your primary residence, it's going to apply to that. Okay. And then the other thing to keep in mind, though, is that it's not going to protect you against the actual creditor. Okay. So you can't tell your mortgage carrier, hey, listen, I don't owe you any more money. It's all mine. No, if your mortgage carriers get paid, okay. And then also, if you happen to borrow against your house, guys, keep this in mind. If you end up using your house as collateral, that's the other instance in which you're going to be a little bit at risk. You're putting your house on the line. Okay, so at the end of the day, I mean, what is the whole purpose of the homestead exemption? I want to get back to that. You know what? We want to make sure that people have a roof over their head. Okay, a lot of us, okay, I guess I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but a lot of us baby boomers, right? Maybe actually just planting our seeds where we are right now. Unless, of course, you have an amazing realtor like Frantz here, who is actually getting me to think outside the box and looking at a possible retirement home, another retirement home down the line. But you know what? The whole purpose of the Homestead Act, going back to that, is really to make sure that people have a roof over their head and they're not just tossed out on the streets.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Pam, I want to get back to this point that you made, which is, you know, if you have creditors and you have a timeshare or you have rental properties and all of those things, that does not protect, the homestead does not protect you from that. It protects your primary residence. But I want to remind you that if you do own those things and you want to learn ways to protect them, you should go back and watch episode 1, because I have Alana Pearl who talks about ways that investors can protect their assets from creditors and other people who are trying to go after them. So there are other episodes that go after that address these issues really well. And this is another thing that you can look at and watch a different episode. Um, so
Nice.
yeah, so I appreciate what you said. I definitely hear that we want people to have a roof over their head. That is the primary purpose of the homestead exemption. And we talked about the different types. So I guess the other thing is, you know, given what's happening with COVID and the pandemic and all this sort of thing, have policymakers said, hey, maybe we need to make some changes to the Homestead Act to help protect people?
Yes, they have. And we are all just so ecstatic about this. Okay. So let me tell you, let me just lay the groundwork here. I'm going to go back a little bit just to kind of put everything into context here. Previously, I'll define previously at some point here. I will get to it, I promise, guys. But previously, and remember, I deal in bankruptcy. So previously, when somebody had to file bankruptcy, we would apply for a homestead exemption. Okay, and then the homestead exemption would be either automatic or declared, depending on whether or not they filed the paperwork. Well, that automatic exemption ranged from a low 75,000 to 175,000. If you can imagine that here in California, think about the cost of homes, right? So, and mind you, that would be based on things like your age, whether you are married or single. Clearly, the higher amount, the 175,000, would apply that if if you were over a certain age, or you were disabled. Conversely, if you didn't meet certain conditions, you would be relegated to something like 75,000 to $100,000. That's how much equity in your home you would have been able to protect. Let's contrast that with Ohio. I was looking at Ohio's exemptions, okay? We got Ohio, we have California. Ohio, the claim of exemption was like $290,000. It's like, what is going on here? This is crazy. So in any event, though, yes, everyone was kind of up in an uproar, and they're like, and so what that did basically is it almost foreclosed the bankruptcy process to many homeowners who really needed the relief of the bankruptcy court, but couldn't, because here they were sitting on this home, which maybe they had no intention of having to sell, move out of, but yet they had the bills which they couldn't address, right? Well, last year in September, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 1885. AB 1885 significantly increased the homestead exemption, right? That's set out in the code. So this exemption has now gone for, okay, I need a drum roll because this is like amazing.
I will give you a drum roll.
$300,000 to $600,000. Bam. So, right? It's like,
yeah, I mean, and thinking of like Ohio, right? $290,000 in Ohio, it might protect your entire home in many parts of the state. Whereas 70, like you can buy a closet for $75,000 in San Diego, maybe. And like I think you'll get like maybe you'll get a kitchen tile in the Bay Area for $75,000. You are not.
So true. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So of course, all of us in the bankruptcy community were all like, "Oh, about time." So, but what is this based on? Okay, everything has. Everyone comes with strengths. Everything comes with strengths, right? So, what this is based on really is it's based on the prior year's index of homes, right? So we're looking at what the prior value of homes were, what the values of homes were the prior year. But come on, even saying that, we know that home values were very high. The median home value for last year was extremely high, right? So this has kind of been a huge boom for the industry. And I'll tell you something, again, just going back to what we've been going through this past year with COVID, I would venture to guess that there's going to be a number of homeowners who are going to be able to totally get relief with these new increased amounts and not have to worry about losing their homes in the fray, because that's always the concern, right? I need to turn to the courts. I need to get some relief here. I might need a Chapter 7 fresh start, but gosh, I don't want to lose my home. And so we're saying, you know what, contact an attorney. Again, like Frantz said, if you don't have to contact me, guys, you can contact your local bar association and they will give you a referral list to lots of bankruptcy attorneys in your area, and let them look at your situation. Don't automatically close the door if you find yourself in a situation where you're needing some type of relief. Go ahead and reach out, let an experienced attorney look at your situation and let you know what's available, and really give you some hard numbers in regards to how this is going to affect you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just do like a quick, I'll give you an example though. Remember, whatever I'm saying is intended for informational purposes only and not intended to be legal advice. We're going to sprinkle that throughout this presentation. Sorry, guys, I just finished my class on ethics again. Give you just a quick example though, because I know that sometimes when we're speaking, it can seem a bit esoteric, and I'm trying to put this really in layman terms for you. So say, for instance, you have a home. You've had it for a long time. You know what? You bought it when the market was maybe low. You were very diligent. You paid your mortgages on time. You haven't borrowed against your home, or maybe you have. In any event, maybe today your home is worth 600,000. But with your first, maybe your first and your second, you owe 300,000. That leaves $300,000 worth of equity. I think the rationale for a lot of us might be, oh gosh, I have 300,000. They're going to want me to go ahead and sell my property, take that 300,000, pay off what, $40,000 worth of bills. And then I got to take, the 260, try to find a new home. I don't know how I'm going to do any of this. No, that 300,000 can most likely be protected, meaning you won't have to sell your home, provided, other things fall out in the equation, right? Because it is going to be more specific. But that's just kind of a little example there to throw out to you guys so you can kind of get a better concept of what we're talking about here. But okay, but
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for that example, Attorney Pamela. That's very, very helpful. And I guess that, the last question, we've been talking about Homestead. We talked about like what it is and how it protects us and how it protects homeowners and all of that sort of thing. But the big question, which we really, really left for the end, because I think this is the golden nugget that people should be rewarded with for having listened to the full episode. How do you actually get a homestead? What does it mean to declare a homestead?
yeah, I have no idea. No, I'm just joking. Sorry, guys, I couldn't resist myself. You know what? Actually, it's not a huge deal. You know what? Well, nowadays, everything is opening back up, but we have everything available online as well. You just go to the San Diego County Assessor's website. You can just Google San Diego County Assessor's website, and then you will see something that comes up that looks like SDARCC. That's your link. You go there, and then there's a forms link. You can just click on your forms, and then you can scroll through the forms, and it's just a do it yourself, fill in the form and file it with the recorder's office. The fees are very nominal, and I will tell you this because I do deal with the recorder's office here and there. Very helpful. Okay, if you get stuck and you're like, I don't know what to do, this is like a foreign language to me, I can't figure this out, call them, say, hey, I just want to go ahead and file the declaration of homestead. Is this the right form? What else do I need? You can even ask them what the fees are. And the process is usually just download the form, fill it out by hand, nothing fancy. You can mail it or drop it off. I like to mail it in, and I usually include a check. Again, call for the fees, and then I include a self-addressed stamped return envelope for them to return a copy of it. And then you just put it in a place where you won't forget where it is. That's safe, and everybody knows where it is. And it's as simple as that. So it's not a huge process. Easy to do, guys. And you know what? Sometimes, right? Again, if you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to do it, but I want it done, reach out to somebody. Any attorney can draw it up. And I'm going to actually just throw out this quick plug. No, I'm going to leave it at that. Any attorney can do that for you. Contact the Bar Association. That's my plug.
Yeah, I mean, I am a member of the San Diego County Bar Association. They are really awesome and amazing. I'm also a member of Lawyers Club, which is also awesome and amazing. So there are so many resources in San Diego if you are looking for awesome or good attorneys. And I really want to thank you, Attorney Pamela, for being on our show and talking to us about the Homestead Act. And I think one of the things that I really want to talk about and point out here is that as a real estate agent, so I am an attorney, I'm also a real estate agent, I'm also a real estate broker. And, a lot of people think of real estate agents as people who help them when they need to buy or sell a home. And that's really maybe what many real estate agents do. I really think of myself as somebody who is there to help everybody with home ownership, right? Home ownership is a process, it's a day-to-day thing. It's kind of like health, right? You don't go to your doctor only when you're sick. you get yearly physicals and you get checkups and you make sure that everything is okay. And the same is true when you own a home. And all of these people that I've talked to over the course of the past about 10 weeks, they are people who are there to help you have a healthy relationship with your home, whether it's, protecting your home from creditors, as attorney Pamela has mentioned, making sure that your home is in good condition, making sure that the mortgage and everything on there is appropriate, making sure that the title issues are properly cared for, and all of the other guests that I've had, proper insurance, all of these guests that I've had, this is part of being a healthy, appropriate homeowner who really has the resources to be an effective homeowner. And that is my goal, right? I do want to sell your house. If you want to buy a house, I do want to help you buy your home. But then after you've done that, I want to help you maintain a healthy relationship with your home. And that is so incredibly critical. And I have the resources to help you do that. So, please feel free to reach out to any of my guests. They are all people that I know and have worked with, and they have been, really amazing professional partners. And, attorney Pamela too is a friend. I've known her. She is really good at what she does. She works extremely hard for her clients. And she's a wealth of information. And she's also so willing to give her time and help people just, deal with the things that are difficult. And that is really priceless. I mean, the cost associated with that, the cost associated with that is the cost of your peace of mind, and having a resource that's available to tell you, well, here's the Homestead Act, here's what it means to declare a homestead, here is how this can help protect you. I mean, that's a really invaluable resource. And the other thing that attorney Pamela didn't mention is that, the law has deadlines, right? So sometimes if you do things and they're not done in the proper time frame, or they're done too close, or they're done too far away, then there are impacts and effects. So it is really important to file a homestead as soon as possible so that you keep the protections, as you are as fully protected as possible.
Yes.
So attorney Pamela, who is my friend Pam, I really, really want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you for all of the information that you have provided us. I also really want to thank you um, for the research that you did, looking and digging back and looking at what homesteads are and what the Homestead Act is. And your contact information will be in the comments. And I really want to thank you for being here, and I will see everybody next week with more awesome real estate facts.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
bye. Bye.